And you got to talk to the rabbi. Rabbi Menken of the Coalition for Jewish Values. You can read more information on them at the coalitionforjewishvalues.org. And by the way, they came out in favor of Judge Kavanaugh the other day. Rabbi, it's great to have you, man.
It's good to be back. Thank you so much.
I know. Like, I go a couple of days and I'm like, well, what is the... See, now I'm like thinking, every time I'm looking at these issues, here's where you know you've gotten me, Rabbi. When I start saying to myself, what would Rabbi Menken think about this, right? Now, then you know you've gotten me. When I got to call him up and get his perspective. So you came on last week. I'm still, for the life of me, I still can't get why you guys passed this law right now, and we're trying to get a peace plan. And now, if you're President Abbas, I mean, you have no reason to meet. You're not going to meet with anybody. You're not even. You can't get reelected to, I guess, or what? He didn't get reelected. He just stayed there. You're going to get thrown out of power. I have no idea what Jared Kushner's peace plan is going to be, but anything absent of a two-state plan, which I know you don't want because you're increasing your settlements. I don't know where you're going with this. Just help me. I'm going to take another stab at it. The Israel's nation-state law, how does it do anything to move along peace with the Palestinians?
So let's take a step back, first of all.
Okay.
You said, you. And this is the thing. I mean, people, you have to recognize that people, whether or not they like Jews or don't like Jews, when they use Israel as a proxy for Jews. And that's why you said, I'm an American Jew. I live in Baltimore. I've never been a citizen of Israel. I certainly have no say in the Israeli government or any of its decisions. As I told you last time, I can't even really tell you why I think they did this because I'm not sure where the real positive benefit of all these obvious statements is. But what I can tell you is that the controversy around it remains this tempest in a teapot of just with the same things that every other country does, they're completely non-controversial, are all of a sudden a wonderful stirring the pot for anti-Semites or anybody else because, oh no, the Jews did something completely obvious. I mean, why was Israel founded? It was founded to be a Jewish state. It was founded to be a refuge for Jews. It's interesting, last week, your interview, when you posted it on YouTube, the title, and anybody can, you go to the YouTube channel. You want to promote your YouTube channel? How do people get to your YouTube channel easily?
They go to my website.
Go to the website, click on podcast or on demand, go over to YouTube.
Right.
Find the interview with me. It's only a week old. It's right there. Israel passes law reserving national self-determination for Jews. That was the title your guys put on it. It's like, wait a minute. National self-determination. National self-determination is only for one people. I mean, that's what it means. In other words, it's inherent. You don't have national self-determination for anybody but a single people or a single nation. Latvia has a whole series of laws to prevent Latvian culture from being overrun by Russia and the Russians because of the Soviet Union. So does that mean that Latvia is a racist country against Russians? No. We don't want to be overrun by Russians. We don't want Russian culture to stomp out our own. We want to preserve a Latvian identity. Well, guess what Israel looks like in its neighborhood? It's surrounded by 106 million Arab Muslims, something like. Mm-hmm. So it's very obvious that if Israel doesn't preserve a Jewish culture and Jewish identity, then it's going to be overrun. And that's not a racist thing against anybody else. It's a matter of national cultural preservation.
So, okay, I get it. And great explanation. And you're probably right. We can sometimes be a little more judicious with our titles. or podcast. I will grant you that, and I will seek your advice out on the titling this one, so we don't do that again and raise your ire, Rabbi. I don't want to do that now. But
it's not about me. I mean,
I know.
I called it to your attention because the comments immediately became a cesspool.
Yeah, I saw it.
People had the opportunity to immediately, he's Islamophobic. Really?
Yeah.
I talked how happy I was to point out that the valedictorian at Tel Aviv University a couple of years ago was an Egyptian. When do you think the last time there was a Jewish valedictorian at Cairo University?
Well, the best comment I saw on there that you got being from the city of Baltimore that you're in is somebody said, tell the rabbi that Joe Flacco and the Ravens suck. That was the best comment I saw. I don't know where that came from, but that was the one that made me laugh. That's on there.
But I'm sure it will be the Jews' fault. The same way that 9/11 was done by the Jews.
That the Ravens suck is the Jews' fault.
Any disaster, anything you want. Oh, and by the way, vandalism of churches, spitting on Christians. Really? Israel is the only place in the Middle East where Christians are safe. Everybody knows that since 1967 is the only time in the last 2,000 years there's been freedom of worship in Jerusalem.
But
for
wait
everybody.
a minute. But the biggest Hebrew newspaper in Palestine did an editorial and said that this law was also targeting Christians in Israel because they were being disenfranchised as well. How do you respond to that?
But it's that same thing. It's not racist against anybody. It's saying this is supposed to be a country of national self-determination, just like Latvia. Latvia is not excluding anybody. As somebody pointed out, he said, I'm sure this lovely specimen, that's how he described me, would enthusiastically support white Christians having the same exclusive role in American self-determination. Guess what? They do. This country, America, is indeed, the majority population is white Christians. And that's how a democracy works. And it maintains its distinctly American character thanks so much to the values of the Founding Fathers, who, by the way, got their principles from the Bible.
Well, I'd have to look at the numbers now because I think white Christians are now a minority in the United States, but certainly they were a majority for some time. But let's get Rabbi.
Are they no longer of Christian stock, or are you saying there's so many Hispanic Christians that?
I think you made the statement that white Christians make up the majority of America. I don't think that's
right. Well,
now.
He said, I'm sure that I would like that white Christians be the, whatever it was. I mean, First of all, if you look at it as whites, well, okay, whites are the majority. If you look at it as Christians, well, Christians are the majority. You may be right that that is no longer the same subset as it used to be.
Well,
I'm saying that the Founding Fathers were all white Christians who put this country together and laid out the course of this country and its unique governmental structure, etc.
Wait a minute,
Rabbi.
Rabbi.
Looking to the Bible for their inspiration.
Yeah, but the U.S. didn't pass a law. We didn't pass a nation-state law. We're still, we still believe in diversification and. We have open arms and all that stuff. But let me get to something else, Rabbi Menken, if I will, that I really wanted to get your comment on. So, looking at a peace plan between the Israelis and the Palestinians, having passed this law, is it fair for me to say that the only peace plan you guys are going to get involves a two-state solution? And having passed this law, why wouldn't the Israeli government be more open to giving the Palestinians a swath of land that they could call their own and then pass their own nation-state law? And then they would have their state, you would have your state. Why couldn't you do that now?
Well, Palestine already has, according to Mahmoud Abbas and company, already has its own nation-state law. The national religion is Islam. It's an Islamic country. of which the only reason why you can't call that the nation of the Islamic people is relatively obvious, because there's 27 others. If it was the only Islamic state in the world, that would be it. I mean, there you would be, nation state of the Palestinian people, Palestine, Islam. But you see, the Palestinians themselves declare themselves to be part of the Arab nation. The whole problem with this two-state solution is it always has been implying, falsely, that these Arabs lack a country. What happened to Jordan? When the British ran the British Mandate of Palestine, it was this entire swath of land which encompasses all of modern-day Israel and Jordan. And Jordan is, of course, the vast majority of that land. So first they gave Jordan over to the Jordanians. Fine, great. And then they said, okay, we're going to have a division of the rest. This is 1948. They said, even though we already gave the Arabs 78% of the land, we're going to give them more and divide it up with the Jews. And guess what the Jews said? Yes, fine. We're very happy with that. Guess what the Arab League said? We're going to have a momentous massacre. We're going to slaughter the Jews and destroy Israel. They didn't, by the way. Why is it the entire Arab League sought to destroy Israel? Because Israel's a Jewish state, right?
Yes.
They didn't hate it because they didn't gang up on Egypt. They didn't gang up on Jordan. Why did they all gang up on Israel? Because Israel's a Jewish state. Like I said, the law doesn't say anything we haven't known for 70 years.
So, absent of a two-state solution, and I know that the Israeli government is settling more Jews into Gaza. I saw that today. There's another 450 they're settling in there. So it doesn't look like.
You must mean the West Bank, because you don't mean Gaza.
Yes, I'm sorry. The West Bank.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, Israel has always been, let's do peace. Let's do peace. Let's do
Well, how do
peace.
you do it?
He who makes peace in the heavens, let's make peace on earth and for all Israel. Amen. You know, this has always been the Jewish-Israeli approach to the situation. Let's do peace. And in fact, the reason why I knew you weren't talking about Gaza is because in 2005, Israel said, you know what, we're going to show that we're serious about this peace thing. We're going to take all the Jews out of Gaza. It's not safe for them. We're tired of defending them. We're going to let Gaza be its own country under Palestinian control. The Palestinian Authority can have Gaza, and it will be a separate country from Israel. Here you go. And they actually evacuated all the Jews. The next day what happened is Arab rioters immediately proceeded to destroy all the greenhouses for which Gaza was famous, but which had been built by the Jews. So rather than use them and build industry, they not only destroyed whatever remained of the houses, but they destroyed the greenhouses, which had actually intentionally been bought and left behind so that the Palestinians could build an industry. A year later, Hamas won an election and then proceeded to cement its control by throwing dissenters off the tops of buildings and dragging them through the streets. And now Hamas is a terrorist enclave. And yet you hear year after year how Israel is being hostile towards Gaza. Israel left Gaza. Israel said, we want peace. We want the Gazans to run Gaza. And instead of running Gaza, they keep trying to invade and destroy Israel. There have been tunnels and missiles, and now the latest thing they're doing, running the border. And, of course, it's called a massacre when Israel prevents terrorists from gaining entry to the country, and then flying kites over to burn so far thousands of acres of land with a airborne Molotov cocktail.
So there was more violence yesterday, and as you just pointed out. So what is the solution? Is what I mean. Of course, people have been working on this since the end of the 6-Day War. But what is now in the real world situation now? What is the solution for peace, in your judgment? Rabbi Menken?
There cannot be peace while one side is calling for peace and the other side is calling for itbach al Yehud, kill the Jew. Mm-hmm. There has to be education for peace on both sides, mm-hmm. for peace to happen. Mm-hmm. Before we get to the point of saying we can actually sit down together and be peaceful, both sides have to show their populace that this is possible and desirable and a good thing. Mm-hmm. Israel keeps talking about reconciliation. They have Arab broadcasters. They have Arab parliamentarians. They have Arab Supreme Court justices. In the Palestinian Authority, by contrast, mm-hmm. they name schools after people who murder children. They pay financial rewards to people who murder Jews, who were killed or sitting in jail as a result. Mm-hmm. They name city squares over people based on how many murders they committed. They're not preparing, and they have TV shows talking about how all children have a duty to go kill. They have camps where they set them up with toy guns and show them, we're going to be an army, we're going to go kill. And by the way, they're specific. We're not going to kill. They don't even say we're going to go kill Israelis. We're going to go kill Jews. We're going to go fight the Jews. The Hamas charter says redemption will not come until the trees and rocks themselves are saying to the believer, there is a Jew hiding behind me, come and kill him. As long as people are being educated to hate and want to kill, no amount of reconciliation, no peace plan is going to actually work. I actually believe that what Kushner and Friedman and Greenblatt, there was a big controversy about this. They said to Hamas, if you guys will abandon warfare against Israel and actually declare recognition of Israel and peace, we will invest untold billions of dollars to rebuild Gaza from all the warfare that it has undergone. And people were so critical of that. Oh, my goodness, Hamas is going to, Hamas, of course, is going to lie, just like the Palestinian Authority lied, just like Arafat lied and said he wanted peace when he really wanted a truce where he would gain a foothold, and it worked out so well for him. We're going to let, they're going to let Hamas do the same thing? No. They knew Hamas came into existence as a counter movement in Gaza that was more honest about their intent. They could never call the bluff. They could never say, we'll declare peace with Israel. Their own people would riot against them, given all the education in hatred that they have received. So thus it has become very obvious, thanks to this peace plan offered to Hamas, that Hamas is not interested in building for the sake of their people. They're more interested in their war in Israel than to build Gaza for Gazans. What does that tell you about peace plans?
Doesn't look good. Rabbi Menken, I got to go. I'm out of time for this segment. Thank you, though, for your candor. We're going to continue this discussion in ensuing weeks. I'm going to get a counter to this next week, but I really appreciate your time. Rabbi Menken with the Coalition of Jewish Values. For more information, you can go to coalitionforjewishvalues.org. Thank you, Rabbi. Have a great weekend. I really appreciate the time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity.